Hello and welcome to Bodied, a Cloud9 fancast. This week it is just me, frozencreek. Havoc Puss had to work and everybody else was busy. So heading into the last week of LCS, we have mostly a light week ahead. So I thought I would just run us through solo. So welcome and thank you for being here. This episode we have Rules of Survival, CSGO, London Spitfire, and Overwatch League, and then we're gonna finish with League of Legends. That includes the Academy team and the LCS team. So first off, the Rules of Survival team plays first place at the RGS EU Cup, week 1, day 1. I actually totally forgot that we had a Rules of Survival team, so forgive me on that. We actually play a couple times in the future, so I'm gonna have to tune in on that. They're playing in the RGS NA series, day 2 and 3 on March 23rd through the 25th, and then March 30th through April 1st. So tune in for those to catch the Rules of Survival team. I can't say I actually know much about the game because I totally forgot that it existed. So good on them because they have a name to rep. CSGO is kind of in shambles, which it isn't totally fair to say. There were rumors that Kyo was going to leave, but it sounds like for the time being, Kiyoshima is going to be back onto the roster for the next major, and the rumored pickup of Juji, hopefully I said that right, is going to be on the roster for the foreseeable future. At the same time, I have to mention that this is kind of a good move towards what we hope is a real roster, which is something that we have been saying for how long at this point. Kiyoshima has been really good. The team's been solid recently. It will be nice to see Juji onto the roster because he has actually shown that he is a decent opper, and that will mean that Automatic is off the op for the time being. It's going to be back on rifles. So if this is actually the rumor that is gonna play out, then I can see this being kind of hopefully a step towards a solidified roster, and hopefully something to work towards the future, because we have not had a stable roster in some time. So hopefully that this will be the sign of good things to come. London Spitfire again kind of fell off the map, literally and figuratively, I guess. They lost to the Seoul Dynasty for the first time in Overwatch League, which kind of feels like a big deal, but in reality, in the grand scope of things for this first stage, it really isn't much. It solidifies that the Spitfire will not be in the stage 1 playoffs, which is something we definitely wanted to see, just due to the performances of last year. But despite the meta, it is a worrying trend to see the Spitfire drop down so far, being the champions of Overwatch League last year. So hopefully with the meta changing, new heroes coming into the game, that we're able to pick back up to where we were at the end of the year, because the Spitfire team is way too talented to be sitting in the bottom of the stages. It also sounds like the Overwatch League is going to be moving towards a full geographical location for next year, which is something that I've always kind of wanted to see tested in esports, and it seems like they have enough data to support the fact that it can happen and become a thing, because they're looking to move towards that for the season 3 of Overwatch League, which would mean that the Spitfire would probably play most of their games in Europe. I have to imagine that there's going to be a couple more European teams added, and the furthest they would hopefully travel is the East Coast, because that is a long ass way to fly just to play a game of Overwatch. So I'm hoping that this is a good development in the Overwatch League, though in my opinion, I don't know if Overwatch League has quite of the longevity that a League of Legends and CSGO has quite had. It also sounds like that there's going to be a Call of Duty League in the same vein as Overwatch League, so that is something that we're going to have to look towards for the future, because that is something Cloud9 could be involved in, depending on how they think the Overwatch League has gone. CSGO. Call of Duty has kind of been a mainstay among competitive games for quite a while, so if that's something that they choose to buy in on, then I look forward to that also. But the buy-in, just like the Overwatch League, is insanely high, but now we have that Puma money, that BMW money, the AT&T money, so maybe that's a realistic venture looking forward, even if they're not considered a quote-unquote main team, like say League of Legends, CSGO, or Overwatch League. Moving towards League of Legends, we're moving pretty fast because, again, I'm the only one here, and it was kind of a slow news week, so bear with me a little bit. The Cloud9 Academy clinched playoffs this past week. They're essentially in the last week anyway. It looks like there's only 2 games going on, and is actually the playoffs of the Academy series. So Cloud9 clinched a bye, first place, which was to be expected with their lineup of mostly LCS players and former LCS players anyway. So if you're looking out for some Academy games this week, look for 100 Thieves vs Echo Fox Academy, Thursday, March 21st at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's a really early start for you guys on the West Coast. Friday, you can look for CLG Academy versus Team Liquid Academy at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, again, an absurdly early time for you guys on the West Coast. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't find a more agreeable time for the East and West Coast, but I guess it is what it is if they're playing on Thursdays and Fridays, so you kind of have to give them enough time for their best of 5. And then it looks like Cloud9 will be playing the winner of one of those matchups, so I guess we'll just have to see what goes on. But this is a tournament that realistically Cloud9 should not only expect to win, but expect to win looking good, I guess, is one way to put it. But a lot of the Academy teams have grown throughout the split, and it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to stack up in a best of 5. I have to imagine that our coaching situation and our experienced players situation among Blabber, among Golden Glue, Keith, is going to be able to pull the younger players who don't have LCS stage experience through the playoffs. But with the rumored, not rumored, but guaranteed 7-man roster for LCS playoffs, it's going to be interesting to see how they balance the players playing on both the LCS stage and the Academy stage, because it's going to be tough to practice among both teams. So maybe I do take back my easily win the Academy League, because that isn't the priority. That's the priority of the Academy League is to develop a talent to eventually move on to the LCS stage. So the priority for Golden Glue and or not Licorice and Blabber is going to be for practicing for playoffs and the actual LCS stage. So we'll see how many games I guess they fit in. I don't 100% know the rules for playing in playoffs on Academy and playing in the regular LCS. I know that there was a cap on games they could play during the week during the regular season, but it's going to be interesting to see how they balance that and whether they bring in Svenskeren or Iniski for a game or two just to meet the rules, I guess. I have to imagine that there's not other rules aren't quite as strict as they are during the regular season, just so teams aren't smurfing in Academy League to get better playoff spots and more game time experience. But I guess we're just going to have to see. For the LCS proper team, not Academy League, Cloud9 went 1-1, dropping a completely unnecessary game to Echo Fox and then eventually beating Optic. The main thing about the Echo Fox game was first the draft, which was experimental to say the least, I guess. We had Akali mid, which I think that was our first Akali game, the split. And it might even be our first Akali game ever, though I think Licorice played at least one or two last split when she was a little more OP. And then we picked Aatrox top, which we seem to love. And then we picked Vayne, which I think was more of the top of experimental picks. Vayne is someone who right now is a really strong. She just has her weaknesses throughout the game. Like her laning phase is weaker than what the meta ADCs are in particular, just due to the fact of her range, and her 2v2 laning isn't ideal. But I actually thought that's a sneaky play. The Vayne pick pretty well in the lane, all things considered, just based on her quote-unquote laning strength, because right now her potential to duel even in a 2v2 is still pretty good. Like you saw Afrika pick it up and be driven with it, and now a lot of other teams are picking Vayne around other worlds. So obviously they're seeing something that a Reaper saw, and they're picking her too. So I think what it kind of comes down to is that Reaper has kind of been a coach who preaches more about learning the game than learning the meta in particular, where he's willing to put Cloud9 onto different comps. We've seen poke comps, we've seen more engaged comps, we've seen tank top lanes, we've seen Aatrox top lane really frequently. We've seen Aatrox jungle, we've seen mages bot. So if we can agree that Griffin is the best team despite their rough week behind us, then that's kind of an amiable thing to aim for, just due to the fact that they can play ADC's bot lane, they can play Vladimir, Cassiopeia, they can play really anything. In that the game isn't quite decided on how the bot lane turns out, but how more of the mid, jungle, top, and support a synergy is through the mid game, and how you're able to control as a jungler how the game plays out. And I don't think we did a great job in that Echo Fox game, and I think that Echo Fox had a really good draft, so that kind of countered us. The Zir kind of screwed us over, so it is what it is. Like we were talking about last week, we just needed 2 wins in 4 games to guarantee our spot in playoffs as a bye, and that still stands. If we win one of our games this week against either FlyQuest or Clutch Gaming, then we automatically get into playoffs as the bye. If we lose, then we need TSM to beat or if we lose, then TSM has to lose a clutch or Team Liquid for us to be guaranteed a spot. So I think the boys are going to be planning on just beating FlyQuest and having it over with. So the playoff scenarios are a little bit goofy. There are a ton of scenarios. Overall, Team Liquid is guaranteed a bye. Cloud9 just needs to win one game to have a bye. But if Cloud9 loses both games, it does get a little bit wonky because TSM can take over the second place spot and get the bye if Cloud9 goes 0-2 and TSM goes 2-0. But other than that, we're guaranteed at least a 3 seed, and we're going to be facing teams who are fighting for their playoff lives. I'm not exactly sure based on the math, but there is probably a scenario where Clutch Gaming can get into the playoffs. If they won both their games, they get up to 7-11. I can't do all the math on the spot, but they have a really tough week ahead to them with Cloud9 and TSM. So hopefully we can just grab the win against FlyQuest. The FlyQuest game is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I believe Cloud9 has side choice. So it's going to be interesting to see which side they pick, because you can get a lot more of the counter picks on red side if you pick that. And you can obviously get the priority picks like Aatrox, which they've been prioritizing all year. In the first round, they can get Cassiopeia, Braum, Alistar, or realistically anything if they do pick the blue side. I don't have the exact win statistics on hand for either side, so it's going to be interesting to see how we choose that. Realistically, FlyQuest is not playing for their playoff lives, I don't believe. I believe that they have a guaranteed route into playoffs since they have 9 wins and the teams behind them have 7 and 6. So nobody can get up to their spot. So what's going to be really interesting to watch is how Golden Guardians, CLG, Echofox, and Optic Gaming play out. Golden Guardians and Optic actually play Echofox's Team Liquid on the first day, and then on the second day, FlyQuest and Golden Guardians play. FlyQuest and Golden Guardians, then Echofox and CLG play. So there is an interesting world where there could be a crazy amount of tiebreakers, and they actually changed the schedule, if I remember correctly, just to fit in the fact that there could be some tiebreakers going on Sunday. Cloud9 will not be playing in a tiebreaker no matter what, because they have a 2-0 on TSM, which guarantees them the tiebreaker. So we literally just need one win. But both of these are winnable games this week. FlyQuest has been undoubtedly the next best team outside of the big three of Team Liquid, Cloud9, and TSM. So, and they're playing for seeding, so it's kind of important for them to pick up a win or two this week. Realistically, beating Golden Guardians is their best chance, just because they play Cloud9. We match up really well with them, really all over the map. So the last time we played, we did beat them pretty handily. So I have to imagine that it's going to be a game that's going to be played with a Niski this time around, because we did see Golden Glue last week. It seems that Niski's the favored mid laner, so I have to imagine that he's going to be in until playoffs is guaranteed, just due to the fact that it is important to get that first round bye and get into a scenario where you're advantageous hiding your matchups, your meta picks, and how the 7 man roster in playoffs is going to play out. We do know that Golden Glue and Blabber are going to be playing at points in time, but it's going to be more interesting to see if they choose to do the mid jungler duo again, and if that's going to be Golden Glue and Svenskeren, the Swole Bros, or if it's going to be Niski and Blabber. We've seen both on stage. We've seen Niski and Blabber, and we've seen Golden Glue and Svenskeren these past 2 weeks. So obviously the Blabber and Niski duo is undefeated at 1-0, and the Swole Bros are 0-1. But it is interesting to see them pick interesting comps and trying to go up against a team that was fighting for their playoff life. So that's going to be important to watch how that plays out. The second match is Cloud9 versus Clutch Gaming. I have to imagine this is going to be Clutch's funeral if they were to lose against TSM on the first day. And like I said, TSM is fighting for that second seed and that bye, but they don't have the decision on how that happens, and they play before Cloud9 and FlyQuest does, so they actually won't know what their playoff hopes look like until after they play their game. So Clutch Gaming is going to be fighting for their lives, while also TSM is going to be fighting for the bye. I have to imagine if TSM and Cloud9 win, that we could see a little bit of experimentation in the last game, whether that's compositionally or if that's in players. I have to imagine the goal is to hopefully play the Swole Bros one game, then Blabber and Niski the next game. But that is something we're gonna have to see, because we do need to get a bye here and finish second place. What mostly sucks about the past week is that if Cloud9 hadn't lost to Echo Fox, they'd be one game behind Team Liquid, who actually lost last week to FlyQuest. So we would have been in a scenario where if Team Liquid went 0-2, that we could actually take that first place from them. But now it's locked in. Team Liquid has the 2-0 advantage over us, so we are locked out of that first seed. So, but that's part of it. I really don't have much more to add, just because it's just me and there's less conversation, obviously. So I would just say get ready for March Madness. I know you guys are probably not curious about what my Final Four is, but I think if I were betting on it and I were to put a paycheck on it, I would have to have Duke, Gonzaga, Tennessee, or sorry, not Tennessee, Duke, Gonzaga, Virginia, and I'm stuck here. The betting people say Houston potentially, but this UNC team is pretty good, so it would be tough to see 4 1 seeds. But this is kind of a special year where the top 8 teams, the 1 seeds and 2 seeds, are all kind of favored to be the best teams, and there is a realistic possibility that the Elite 8 is all 1s and 2 seeds. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm going to be rooting for my boys and High's alma mater in Michigan State. So they have a fun road ahead of them. All this starts Thursday. So while you're waiting for the best of 5 in Academy, you can watch some basketball, and then between LCS games over the weekend. All right. Thank you. Bye.